When you're in the Pacific Northwest, you got to dance between the raindrops. And right here is some signage that gives a little information about the old naval base. Well, I've been waiting for some sun to peek out behind the rain clouds. It's been raining all night and all morning, and it's now just early afternoon, and we finally have some sun out, some pretty nice sun out at the moment. So I don't know whether I should trust it or not, but I think I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try to cut my hair, and I've been cutting my own hair for the last couple of years now. It just makes it so much easier. I don't have to go find a barber and pay barbers to cut my hair. I just do it myself, and I'm not very good at it, but I do it because it's a lot more convenient for me. I do like saving the money too, but it's just a lot more convenient, although it hasn't been quite so convenient lately because of all the rain that we've had here in the Pacific Northwest. I'm in Humboldt, and it's rainy here. This is Pacific Northwest weather up here, and you can see back off in the distance there. There's still some rain back there in those mountains, but at least here along the coast, I think we're over the rain, at least for a little bit. Now, whether it'll be long enough for me to actually cut my hair, I'm not sure, but we'll find out. You think those cows are going to be bothered by me cutting my hair? I hope not. So that's Centerville Beach down below us, and we are parked up here at the Lost Coast Headlands. This was an old naval base at one time. They actually had a secret base here for some submarines that they kept right off the coast here. That is long gone, but what remains here is a federally protected spot for hiking and walking, although it is surrounded by cattle, so there are lots of cows around. If you do go walking out there, you will have to go through some cattle gates. I've never had any trouble, but it always is a little odd to be hiking around cattle, I think. Now, I think I need to get to my haircut because it almost seems like it's getting darker. So hopefully I'm not going to get rained on, but I do have one way of ensuring that I don't have too much of a problem here. I'm going to set up a little cover for myself to work on my haircut outside but under cover. Nope, I waited too long and now it is raining. So I'm going to retreat back to the van and hope that this is just a short little squall here. That's not the right word for it, is it? I grew up in the desert. I don't know what to call this kind of stuff. Well, I guess I can make a cup of coffee while I am waiting it out. Although I'm kind of changing my mind about cutting my hair here today because it's not only a little bit wetter, it's quite a bit chillier at the moment. So I don't know if it's something I want to do today. Also, the wind has picked up quite a bit too, just all of a sudden. So let's make a cup of coffee, and we'll just hold off on making a decision about what we're going to do. This is typical van life for you. Lots of times I'll just have to change up things as I go. One thing that constantly happens is if I have a spot in mind that I'm going to park, like I'm here in Humboldt, which I know really well, and so over the time that I've been here, I found areas that I like to park in. A couple of areas I don't like to park in, but there's a bunch of areas that I like to park in, and some of my favorite areas I will sometimes try to go back to for certain reasons. You know, maybe they have sun first thing in the morning, so I know that I'm going to get solar as soon as the sun comes up, or maybe they're quieter, or maybe they're near a store that I want to shop at. But whatever the reason, I may get this idea in my head that I'm going to take one of those parking spots. And I'll tell you, whenever I do that, it never fails. I get to that parking spot that I had in mind, and it's usually just filled up with cars. And a lot of times I park in spots that just don't ever fill up. So I always kind of scratch my head and think, like, how did that happen? You know, the universe is against me somehow. Then I usually would just go off to the second or third spot I have in mind, and sometimes those are filled up too, and then I find a new spot. But this is the kind of thing that happens, you know, when you live out of a van. Nothing's guaranteed, ever. So, you know, if we don't cut our hair today, there's always tomorrow. I don't think tomorrow it's going to be rainy again. You know, when you're in the Pacific Northwest, you got to dance between the raindrops. So a while back I had switched to this electronic lighter, and I bought one from Amazon. I still have it here. It started to break in a couple of different spots, but it still works. It's just the little hook part that you'd use to hang it up, I had to tape on because it broke. There was a little screw in there that broke, and there was no way to fix it, so I just taped it on. So it still works, and oddly it works better than the one I bought to replace it. So this one I found at a discount store. I think it was TJ Maxx, and it works. It's fine. It was cheaper than this one that I bought on Amazon, but it doesn't work nearly as well. So I'm using it, but it's very annoying. The little control on it, so there's this little slide here where you slide this forward, and that gives you access to the power button. I think it actually turns it on too, so that's why you see the lights light up as soon as you slide that little cover forward. So then it's ready to work. The only thing though is when you go to slide this, it gets caught on the little ignition button, and it's just really awkward to use. Where this one, the little slide switch is separate than the ignition button. So this is a better design, I think. I might just go back to using this one. I'm just not so sure it's going to hang up here, but I think I'm going to try it, because this one's just been a real pain. So if you do look for one of these, this is the point. I did have a point. If you do look for one of these, probably try to avoid one that has the slide cover on top of the little ignition button, because just a bad design. I'm gonna put this one away, and hopefully I won't have to use it. Hopefully this old one will keep on working. So since I'm in Humboldt, I am drinking some of Humboldt's finest coffee, and you know it's the best coffee because that's what it's called, Humboldt's finest. It has to be the best, right? I'm trying something new that I heard about recently, and well, I've heard about this a while back, but there's been more talk about it recently because of a paper that was published. But I'm going to grind up my coffee beans here, and what people have been doing is they've been taking a little spray bottle, and this is just a little glass spray bottle I bought for a couple dollars, and it's just filled with just plain water, and I just give a spray to my beans that I have portioned out, and I'll then dump them into my hand grinder here. And no, I don't weigh my coffee out because I'm just too lazy. I just go by volume, basically. So I know that this grinder holds about 20 ounces right up to the top, and I usually aim for a little bit less than that. But anyway, the water spritzing onto the beans is supposed to help with the grinding process, and then it's also supposed to help with the brewing process as well. So when you grind it, what happens a lot of times with less expensive grinders, I don't find that I have it with this grinder, but with less expensive grinders, they will grind not real uniformly, and you'll get some fines in there, some really little pieces of coffee. Now this one is really accurate, and so I don't really get a lot of fines, but with my old grinder, this would have probably been a really good thing because I had a lot of those little fines that would kind of just make a little bit of a mess when you went to dump the grinds out of the catch basin. So I have been noticing that it does help with that. Spraying the water on does help with that a little bit, because I do have a little bit of static cling that happens, static cling that happens with the catch basin on this, since it's all metal, which is something all grinders do. But it's interesting, and it's just something that I've been trying. If you've been trying this, let me know if you think it's actually worth the bother. I haven't been doing it long enough to really get a good feel on whether it's something I'm going to keep doing. But it was a cheap little thing to try out. And this is my hobby, after all, coffee. So that's what I'm doing here. Well, I think I should probably not even consider cutting my hair today, because it seems as though everything is kind of going wrong. I've got the kettle on here, and I am almost out of gas. So this is not a huge problem. I have 2 tanks. They sit under my bed. They're refillable tanks. I'm just going to shut this off because it's not really going to bring this kettle to a boil. Anyway, I've got 2 refillable tanks, and they're kind of an odd size. They're 2-gallon tanks, and they're kind of squatty so that they fit under my bed. So the reason I have 2 is because I normally have one going to the stove and then the other going to my heater, and that makes it kind of easy that I can run them both at the same time without any difficulty. But when it comes to days like today, right now, when I've run out of fuel on one of them, then all I need to do is go down and put a Y splitter on the tank that still has fuel. So I'm hoping that one still has fuel in it, because I thought that one was running empty and this one still had plenty of fuel. But let's get down here and try this out. This is one of those things. Oh, and look, it's sunny. The sun's out again. Well, mostly sunny, I guess. The cows look happy, don't they? This is actually a little bit of a pain to do this, because I keep a bunch of stuff that I need access to in front of the propane tanks. So when I go to have to get them filled, or at least swap them around like I'm doing right now, I have to move a bunch of stuff. So like I've got a big battery supply here. I've been using that quite a bit since it's been pretty dark and rainy, and all kinds of other things. So it just takes me a few minutes to dig into here. Okay, so good news. The second tank is pretty full. I've got H on this one because this one is for the heater. Having a little issue with this hose, and until I replace it, it doesn't seem to work very well with the other tank. So I try to keep this one just for the heater, but it's not going to affect anything now, because I'm just going to put a Y fitting on here. So that'll screw onto the tank, and then I've got a fitting for each of the hose lines, so I can have my stove hooked up and my heater hooked up, just in case I need to run the heater. You never know. Okay, so you can see this tank is kind of an odd size. My bed is about 12 inches off the floor of the van. So these tanks, even though they're oddly sized, they're perfectly sized for me, because I can get 2 of these in under, and like I said, they hold about 2 gallons each. They actually hold 2.2 gallons, but they need some headspace for propane, so they can get about 2 gallons in them in total, and they're a good size. I wished I could get a larger tank in here, but it's a good option, and these last me for quite a while. I can get usually about a month at least off of each of these tanks. It just so happens that it hasn't really been that cold, so I haven't been running my heater, which is why this tank here is, I think, half full or even more. There we go. Now just get this stuff tucked back away and we can get back to coffee. Okay, got everything back in place. Let's give this another try. I got the gas on, that's on, and we can give our old lighter a try. So there's a positive. Yeah, and we're back up and running, which means we will have coffee in a moment. Oh, I forgot to grind the beans. One thing is, I would much rather be swapping the tanks out like this now during the middle of the day versus early in the morning or at night, which is usually when it happens. It just never happens in the middle of the day like this. So I guess I've got one good thing going for me. Still not sure about cutting my hair. All right. Now, looking at my flame there, I kind of wonder if I've got some moisture in the tank. When they're new, and I bought those brand new, I bought one of them in Canada at a Canadian Tire, and then I liked it so much that I got rid of the other size tank I had. I used to have a 1 gallon tank, so it was refillable, but only holds 1 gallon. And it's just so much nicer to have more propane, especially since I'm trying to stay up here in the north area where it's a little more winter-like, although, you know, today's not bad. I think it's 52 degrees out today, so, you know, not terribly cold. But, yeah, I liked it so much, I went and bought another one, but the second one I bought at a small little store, well, not small, but a store in Port Angeles, Washington called Swain's. They have a ton of stuff in there. If you're ever in Port Angeles, definitely go to Swain's. They have just really cool stuff. Even if you don't buy anything, it's just a fun place to window shop. Anyway, so because they were brand new when I bought them, I had to have them purged the first time before they're filled. But I kind of wonder if I can get them purged again at some point. I don't know if anybody knows, let me know down in the comments about that, because looking at the flame, it's not burning quite right. So maybe that's an issue with the stove, or maybe there's some water in there. Seems to happen once in a while, but usually once I run it for a few minutes, then that goes away. So maybe it'll just go away on its own. You're probably wondering why I didn't have that Y connector on one of the tanks already. The answer to that is my old Y connector broke, and I didn't have one for quite a while. I finally ordered one. I looked all around trying to find one in a local store, and I just could not find one anywhere like the one that I have here. I wanted this particular style of Y connector. There were different styles out there that I could have bought, but I wanted this style, so I finally just had to order one. This style makes it a little easier for me to use with the hoses that I use, and so that's why I just like this style. But I just recently got it since I had to order it, so I think probably going forward I'll just have both of the hoses on one tank, and then when it runs out I can just switch it over to the other tank, and then that way I know I've got a few weeks before I've got to go get propane somewhere. It's probably the easier way to do it. It was the way I used to do it, but I kind of got out of the habit because I didn't have that old Y connector. The old one, I think it got too cold because it was like 20 degrees one night. I was staying at a friend's house out in the Olympics, and I went to screw it on. I went to switch tanks, you know, and it just snapped in half, the plastic piece on the end. And I thought, I've never seen that before. It wasn't that old either, so it was kind of a strange thing. But now I've got a new one, so I should probably get back to doing that. It would sure make it easier on me, just knowing that I just have to mine the one tank and then switch over to the other tank. And then I know I've got several days or a few weeks even to get propane again. Yeah, good things. So at least a few good things are happening here today, even though the wind is now really picking up, It's getting to be kind of chilly. It actually feels like it's dropped into the 40s outside. Totally fine here in the van, but a little chilly outside. I don't think I'm going to be cutting my hair, but coffee's done. So let's get to pressing this. So one of the things that I'm asked quite frequently is how I make my coffee here. And I'm basically making an Americano, so to speak, making a concentrated version of coffee with the AeroPress and making that really strong. So I put more coffee here in the AeroPress than I normally would if I were just making a regular cup of coffee. And then once I have that really strong brew there, then I just top it up with some water. So this mug holds 12 ounces to the top, so it's almost 12 ounces, and I think with this batch I used about 20 grams of coffee beans altogether, at least close to that, because again, I don't really measure. And then to make this exactly the way I like it, I'm just going to add a little bit of sloppily there. I'm adding a little bit of half and half, although sometimes I use heavy cream, but I've got some really good local half and half here from Clover out of Sonoma County, which is close by here in California. Good quality stuff. And this is my preferred cup of coffee. Can you hear the wind howling out there? It's not pleasant out, and it's feeling really chilly. I'm happy to be in here with a nice cup of coffee, but I think I have made a decision about the hair cutting. We're going to hold that off for another day. It's not that long, obviously. I know people tell me just let it grow, but it's really a pain to have it even this length because it takes me so long to wash it in the morning, and I use so much water that I have to keep going to get more water, and it's just a pain. And so I would prefer it just to be shorter so that I can just get up and get going in the morning. I don't like having to fuss around with things. Good thing is, though, I do have plenty of hats to put on to cover it up. And the way the temperature is dropping outside, I think I need a hat today, soon. But let's have some coffee first. Well, it is absolutely beautiful out. Let's give you a look here. Now, it's really pretty in this direction. In fact, there's a little bit of a rainbow I've been staring at as I've been drinking my coffee. A little different look over in this direction though. Looks like it's still raining over there in the mountains, but got a little bit of sun out, and I think this is quite beautiful. It's too beautiful just to sit in the van and admire the view from inside. Let's get out. We're definitely going to need our jacket because we're walking in that direction where we might get a little bit of rain, but that's okay. And I am going to put a hat on. I found a new toque recently. This is another smart wool toque. I've got a bunch of these, and I really like these things. It was at a discount store called Sierra, which is part of the TJ Maxx chain of stores. So it wasn't very expensive, although there is some bad stitching on the top of it. So that's probably why it was basically half price. But very nice toque. And I'm gonna definitely need this because it's getting chilly out here. It's almost like glove weather too. My fingers are cold. Okay, that's funny. I just looked down and realized that my little wind muff came off of my microphone that I use here, and I couldn't figure out what had happened to it. I looked all over the van, couldn't find it. I thought maybe it fell down into my sweater, and nope, couldn't find it there either. I finally did find it over across the parking lot. I guess the wind took it and swept it away. So it's a little bit wet. We'll see what it sounds like now, but at least I found it. I was a little bit scared there for a moment. Okay, now let's go walk. I did finish my coffee today. Usually I drink part of it and then leave the other part for after I'm done with my walk. But it's chilly, so I wanted to drink it all. Now we're gonna go in the cow gate here, and you just need to make sure you lock these behind yourself because the cows are out. Everything is so wet today. The trail's wet here. There's a big puddle in the parking lot, and driving up the Centerville road here, there was parts of it that were flooded out. It really rains quite heavily out in Eureka, and we're not very far away, so they probably got at least as much rain here, maybe even more, which you know, is that's to be expected. We are up here in the Pacific Northwest, and that is what we get in the wintertime. I can't help but to think about looking at these cows here. I can't help but to think about when I was camping out in, where was I? Kingman, Arizona, and I was hiking in some cattle land much like this, and I walked out and just walking out just to take a little walk, and there was a steer that saw me, and it was almost like he was being aggressive and territorial. And I stood there and thought, should I be afraid? Should I be running? Should I stand my ground? I don't know what to do in a case like that. You know, sometimes I wished I was raised on a farm and not in a city, but you know, I guess it all worked out fine, and I can laugh about it now. These cows are much nicer, I think. If there's a prettier place in this country, I haven't been there yet. I just really like it out here. We can get a little view down to Centerville Beach down below there, and I think we'll just keep going up this little trail a ways. It's just gorgeous everywhere here. And right here is some signage that gives a little information about the old naval base that used to be here. Such an interesting area. Okay, we've got another cow gate to get through. Somebody didn't latch this one. I think that getting it latched properly is probably a good idea with all this cattle out here. And this one's not fully latched either. It's really a shame people can't just mine these gates. It doesn't take much to just latch them, does it? So we're walking over to the next parking lot over, which is Fleener Creek. And there's a really cool trail down the hill. Don't think I'm going to do that today, but we'll go up and look over at the overlook at it. One of the things I like about this area is that there's usually very few people out here, at least this time of year. In the summertime, it can get pretty popular out here, and you'll see a bunch of people, but not a lot of people this time of year, although today there's a bunch of cars here in this parking lot. Not really sure why, being midweek, but it is beautiful out here, so I don't blame them, but it is a little unusual to see so many cars. So the first time I came out here to this spot, I don't know if it was 2 or 3 years ago, I was looking at these signs, you know, seeing warning, hazardous cliff, stay away. And these signs are really important to pay attention to, because if you look out here, see this big divot? The cliff has really caved away quite a bit just over the last couple of years. So you can kind of see the old fencing there hanging down. The old fencing used to be a few feet off of the edge of the cliff, and you can see it's just hanging on for its dear life at the moment. Things happen quickly. In fact, I probably shouldn't even be this close to the edge here. It's so pretty, I can't help but to get right up to the edge there, but I really don't like heights. So I take a look, and then I get back, retreat back to a safe spot. And it gets even prettier up here. We can actually get to a better overlook, one that's a little safer. Another cow gate though. I always tell people that it's just like another world out here. It's just so awe-inspiring, and it's just almost unbelievable to me that this is California. There's just no place like this anywhere that I've ever come across, and I just love it out here so much. Today's fantastic. Even though it's a little bit chilly, this is just the most beautiful place I've ever seen, and I just love all the clouds. And today we've got lots of just great surf going on. The sound off of that surf is just incredible. Let's see if we can get a little bit closer, although I need to be careful because I'm wearing my barefoot shoes and they don't have much tread on them, and it's a little muddy and slippery here. These shoes are actually really good for walking and hiking, but I do find that when it's muddy, they are a little bit slippery at times. So I'll record as I'm walking down, just in case I fall, and then we'll have something funny to laugh at. No, I didn't fall this time. Maybe next time. Uh-oh. I'm feeling some raindrops. I can't tell which way the clouds are moving though. It's kind of strange. They're moving slowly up there, but down here it's pretty windy. And this sitting around is great for viewing the beautiful view, but I'm getting cold, so let's move along. Okay, well, I slipped going up the hill here with all this mud. Let's find out. There's a chance for some comedy and laughs yet. Oh, almost, but not quite. I made it. On another note, wouldn't it be cool to have that property down there? It's just so awesome. It's like it's your own little bit of paradise here. Okay, I gotta keep moving because I'm getting cold. Oh, just like that, all the cars are gone. I wonder if they were all together. A big group of people. Now the parking lot is the way I normally see it this time of year. This is such a great area. If you ever get a chance to come out here, I highly recommend it. It's a great spot for a picnic too. They actually have a picnic table right up there. I've used several times. In fact, I've edited half a video sitting at that picnic table back in the past. The weather was a little nicer back then, sunny in the summertime, where I'd probably want to be editing in my van this time of year, just in case some more rain fell down, which it kind of looks like there is some rain back there. Hopefully it just stays back there, because I've had enough rain today. I think I'm going to skip the cow gates, at least a couple of them, So if we take the trail back around, we'll have 2 cow gates to get to going that way, but I'm just going to go walk down the road. It'd be quicker and easier. Well, you know, I should have mentioned that this area out here is day use only. There are some campgrounds out here, but they are much farther down into the Lost Coast. You really got to drive to get to them. And I think they're easier to get to them from the other side, not through Centerville here. So that's one thing to keep in mind. They are first come, first serve, and you do need to pay cash, I believe. So they're not ones I've ever tried to camp out at, but there is some camping here, but you just can't camp out here on this spot. Even though it is BLM land, they don't allow it because it's a part of a bigger conservation area here, and it's just kind of overseen by BLM, so it's a little different than maybe Arizona BLM land that you might be familiar with, like around Quartzsite. The rules are a little bit different out here. Oh my, the cows are right here on the trail. Should I be afraid? See, I'm not so afraid of these. Hey buddy, I don't have anything for you, sorry. Looks like you're well fed anyway. See you later. Oh, the wind is really picking up. I'm cold. Look at my hands. My hands are freezing. Yeah, I think it's a soup night tonight. Or chili, maybe. One of the two. But I definitely need something warm for dinner. And more coffee as well, I think. I think I've spooked the little cows. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I wonder if my tripod looks like a cattle prod to them, and that's why they're running away. I hope not. Okay, the wind is picking up, and the temperature is dropping, obviously, as well. And I'm feeling more and more raindrops. In fact, it looks like rain out on Centerville Beach. So I think it might be time to skedaddle, get back into town. Whew. I'm glad I'm back to the van here, because if it does start to rain, I might be in a bit of trouble because I am freezing. Boy, it's chilly. I got my gloves out, but I don't remember what I did with them. I seem to do that every winter. I get them out and I put them in a spot and I think, okay, they're here so I can just grab them when I need them, but then I never remember where I put them. They might be in my overhead storage here somewhere, but I guess I don't need them now, do I? We're done walking. I'm gonna head back into town, into Eureka, to find a parking spot for the night, and that's a few miles back. So since I've got a little bit of drive time there, I'm gonna get some soup prepped up, and I just bought a new bag of some soup mix. This stuff is easy, and so that's why I try to keep it around, but from Bob's Red Mill. I eat this a lot during the winter time. It was on sale at one of the health food stores or co-ops. I forget where I saw it on sale, but I grabbed it because I was almost out anyway. And what I like to do with this, since there's some beans and other things that kind of need hydrating first, I like to just put it in my pot, a little bit of it in my pot, put some water on it and let it soak for a little bit. It just helps cut down on the cooking time. So I'll do that now since I've got some drive time. It can just sit happily back here in the sink while I'm driving back into Eureka. Okay, I've got some water on that soup mix. I'll just put the lid on it and that'll sit happily while we drive back into town. I just realized my nose looks about the same as my hands. Look at my hands. Boy, it's chilly. You know, it's really not that cold. It's probably in the mid 40s right now, maybe high 40s. And that's, you know, that's not cold really, but it's just the wind chill at the moment. The wind has really picked up. Most of today it was really comfortable and pleasant. Even when it was raining, it was really comfortable and pleasant, but the wind has made things feel much different. I really don't like wind. I like rain. I really don't like wind. Okay, well, let's get a move on because I need to get back into town, I guess. Wait a minute. What am I thinking? I need a cup of coffee to go. I'm going to make some road coffee. That'll warm me up and give me something to drink on the drive back. I got mud all over my pants here, so just do a little quick spot cleaning. And there we go. Good as new, pretty much. Okay, so I got my road coffee and I am ready to get back into town. I'll cook off that soup once I find a parking spot tonight. I think I'll make some meatballs to go with it too, just to double up on the protein. I think I've been needing it lately, cold weather and all. So I'll do all that later and leave you here. This was not exactly the day I had planned. I came here to this spot today to cut my hair. It's a little bit of a drive out here, and I don't usually drive all the way out here unless I want to take advantage of the trails, of course, or it's a good place to cut my hair because there's nobody around to kind of look at me weird. But I guess I'll have to just plan on doing the haircut another day. Oh well, that's the way it goes with van life. You just never really can plan everything out totally. But it's never a bad thing to come out here. It's just one of my absolute favorite places to be. So not a bad idea to be out here, and I enjoyed every minute of it. Even the cold and the damp and the rain, I enjoyed every minute of it. I hope you did too. Thanks for watching today. I really appreciate it.